Welcome to the Lovoni and Sarah podcast, where we chat weight loss, health, well-being, recipes, weekly challenges, and overshare our own stories to hopefully inspire you to squeeze more juice out of life. On today's episode, we're talking ways to improve time management and focus. I'm Lovoni.
And I'm Sarah. How well do you manage your time? Do you get done what you hope to accomplish most days? How's your focus? Does it need some sharpening? So many of us get to the end of the day not having accomplished what we most set out to do. Some days we can be fraught with interruptions that disturb your focus and prevent you getting tasks accomplished. Many days we muddle around and waste time. Let's talk about how to make time work for you while maintaining focus. Livoni, how is your time management and focus?
Sarah already knows both
I
are
feel a little
terrible.
scared to ask.
I know. I'm a multitasker,
Mhm.
and thinking I'm getting lots done, but never really finishing anything. Eventually, everything gets finished in the end, but it causes a level of angst for me, I
Mhm.
have to say. And even just trying to figure out the best way to accomplish things the the fastest. I was going to say the most
Okay.
efficient, but it's often not the most efficient. And then my focus is dreadful. I have about the attention span of a 2-year-old, if that, because I'm always thinking of the next thing that I have to do.
Right.
And I'm really that these two things are something I was so glad that we're doing this episode because, it caused me to dig sort of deep
Yeah.
into it to
Mhm.
see what professionals say, and also just to reassess, why I am like
Yeah.
that, and ways that I could improve it. So, it's going to be a work in progress, but it's definitely something I really need to work on because,
Mhm.
the big dreams that I have aren't going to just happen with me flying around like a nervous
No.
fly or something,
Yeah.
bird trapped in a room like I feel like I do most days. What about you? Laser focus?
No. I mean, I am quite good. I thought about it. It depends on what I'm doing. So when I'm drawing, I'm really good. I'm in it, and actually I find it quite frustrating and annoying when I have to stop. So I look up and think, oh, I've been doing this an hour and a half. I've now got to, if I've got a time deadline for something else. So that bit I'm really good at. If it's something that I'm not so keen on doing, then no, my focus is not brilliant. I will suddenly start pinging off looking at something else or doing another job. But I did think about what is it that distracts me? And actually, it's quite interesting. I think it feeds back into last week's episode with the perfectionism thing. I
Right.
am somebody that needs to have everything straight before I can
Can
start.
start. Yep. Yep.
So I want the kitchen clean and tidy. Um, I want all my emails been opened and responded to, had a look at, so that deck feels clear. I want text sent that I need to have sent to have replied to that I haven't done. So I need all of that done first before I can even think about starting on my big chunk of the next job, because otherwise it's
Mm.
stressing me out the entire time
Knowing that it's
thinking
there.
it's there. Um, but that said, that can eat into quite a bit of your allocated time, can't it? By the
It's
time you've done
crazy.
all of those
Yeah.
things, and then you think, oh my God, it's midday and I haven't even started yet. But what I've been doing
Mhm.
is the washing on, the kitchen straight, all of these sort of things. The
Mhm.
dog's being walked, breakfast for
Right.
me. Then, it's just,
I mean, things that need to happen, but
yes,
things that aren't going to, like, fulfill your dreams.
they're not. And actually, some of the things, do they have to happen right now? Do they, or could you leave them? But
Mhm.
I'm that perfectionism thing really creeps up on me, and I think I can't think straight if I know that it's all a mess somewhere or it's out there like
Yeah.
that. And so that's one thing that definitely sabotages my time management or my focus for sure.
Having listening to you say that, because I'm exactly the same, but then I also thought, oh, as you were talking, thinking, I think when I do it, I mean, I need the kitchen clean before I start making another
Mm,
mess in the kitchen.
yeah.
It's just horrible to start cooking when there's crap there to begin with. But I think for me, part of me doing all those little things is like, one, it feels like you're in control.
Mm,
And it's also a form of procrastination, really,
do you
I'm
think?
just putting off the bigger task, yeah. So,
Yeah.
I want to really
I don't
address that.
think it is for me, because
No,
I'm really I find it frustrating. I'm so frustrated when I'm doing those other jobs, because what I really want to do, particularly if I'm in the middle of a
is your
drawing,
other
is I want to be
stuff.
in there and in the drawing and doing it.
Yeah,
Because what I
yeah,
really don't like, although it's impossible not to do it, is I hate stopping part of the way through the drawing, because I have this real fear that if I come back tomorrow, what if I can't do it anymore, or it doesn't look the same, or the colors are not, because it's quite, there's
right.
nuance when you're doing these things,
Mm.
the pressure that you're putting on the, I know, might be a bit arty-farty, but it's true.
No.
I feel really nervous that I hate stopping half the way through, but these things
Mhm.
take, sometimes 3 days or even longer. Like, one of the big ones can be 80 hours of work. So obviously you're not going to get all that done in one go. You have to stop. But when I'm doing those other jobs, I'm really anxious and sort of antsy about it. I'm like, I want to go and get started, but I also know if I try and sit down and start that,
Then you know that they're there.
and I can't focus. I just can't. It makes me
Mm.
feel really unclear in my own mind. So it's worth the time getting it done.
Mhm.
I really enjoy it, because what I really want to be doing is cracking on with my to-do list.
Before we started recording this, I was saying to Sarah, because Sarah and I both work for ourselves, and most of our work's done at home,
Mm.
unless you're out on
Yeah.
doing a show or something like that, or I'm on location, videoing and photography, doing photography,
Yeah.
food styling, whatever. Um, that if our day, just when you have that, and people that work from home or work for themselves probably work for themselves essentially probably know this, that sometimes it seems like infinite time, because you really
Hmm.
don't have there's nobody telling you that you have to start and stop.
No.
But I think that you were saying, about you want to get these things done. Like, if you know that you're going to start, say, at 9 o'clock in the morning, to give yourself time, like say 9 to 5 or 8 to 4 or something like that, like an
Hmm.
8 hour
A
window,
working
seven and a
day.
half
Yeah.
hours of your working day. And that is dedicated to getting those things done before and after. Then you can do, the other
And that's what I need
things.
to get better at, is I think that I
Hmm.
let it creep into what I would consider, because I used to be in the corporate world for a long time. So my corporate days, you've got to start a finish, you have to be there. And I think
Right.
the stress of that, as I still haven't, 12 years in, I've been working for myself for 12 years, I still haven't adjusted that mindset to say, well, your working day is when you start it. So I think it stresses me out, because in my head I'm like, you haven't started yet, the day started and I'm behind, and you
Right.
already feel like you're on the back foot. Whereas in reality, I can do exactly what I want, and I can start when I
Right.
want and finish when, well, which I do. But I think that stressful part comes from thinking that my working day hasn't started when everyone else's working day has, if that makes sense.
Mhm. I feel, for me, the best for my productivity, I think, is getting up earlier. And,
Mm.
I was telling Sarah before we started recording that, I'd like to get up at 5 o'clock. It was 6 o'clock,
That's so
but I'd like
early.
to get up at 5 o'clock. And I tried that, and I was like, "Ugh," and I just, either turn my alarm off or put it on snooze or whatever, and I don't like to do that. But instead what I did, I thought, "Okay, that was a bit ambitious, Lavoni." So instead what I've done is I started doing it in 15-minute increments. So
Hmm.
5:45, 5:30. I'm at 5:30 right now. So then I'm
Hmm.
going to next week go to 5:15 and then to 5 o'clock. So that way I can get up and get exercise, because that's, a
Yeah.
priority. And I have to do it in the morning, get showered, all the rest of it, and then get into,
Yeah.
my day, or, run around if I've got washing to do, whatever. If I say I'm going to start my day at 8 and finish it at 4, um, and at least then if I do have stuff I need to go back to,
Yeah.
then
You've
I
got some
can do
time.
it later in the evening, maybe, something like that.
I
But
was getting
to
it. My get up time was always 6:30. It always
Right.
was. And then since Christmas, I seem to have let that slip. And then obviously
And
being
then you were
poorly, and
sick.
yeah, and I'm
Mhm.
really tired with it. I'm still not clear of it now. It's definitely sticking with me. It's joyful. So yeah, I'm sleeping in a lot later, but that then pushes the day. And I think you feel like you're
Mhm.
always on catch up. But I was also thinking about it. I don't know about you, but I think there's something to be said for making sure, a bit like you were describing there, being ready for your day. So
Yes.
being up, showered, and dressed properly. Because the days that
Hmm.
I
Bed
just,
made.
yes, the days I just stick on slouchy stuff. Now you can wear comfortable slouchy stuff. I don't mean that, but just stick on
Right.
any old thing and think, oh, I'll grab that hoodie and those tracky bottoms and maybe
You
I
don't
have
feel good in them.
yeah, I think I'll have a shower later or whatever. And then I
Mm,
don't feel like my day is ever
no.
as productive ever because
Mm-mm.
I'm not in that right, mindset and that frame of mind. So
Yeah.
I think that's worthwhile investing in the time, which I generally do, but get up, shower, dress, make your bed, then your day started. And I think it does set your focus differently, doesn't
Hmm.
it, once you're ready for the day like that?
It sets the vibe for the day, I
Hmm.
think. And then get into your day. I think a lot of people, and I think men um generally are good at, just if they have a tasks to do, they
Mm,
just get up, get themselves dressed, get into it.
yeah.
They don't worry about all that other stuff. They have that, like laser focus.
Hmm.
I think, at least, a lot of the men
Don't you
that
find it's the
I
other
know are like
stuff
that.
that's what makes me late a lot of the time? Because what I always am is a bit over ambitious on the number of things that I can get done. So I think,
Oh,
oh,
yeah.
just before I'm going to go somewhere, I'll just get the dishwasher emptied or this, because what I think is it's going to give me a head start on the rest of the day or the rest of the stuff. But before you know it, the day is suddenly, or the time has
Oh,
suddenly vanished. I'm like, oh,
gone.
now I'm late. I'm late by 10 minutes because
Yeah.
I tried to do all that. If I just left it alone and left when I
Mhm.
was ready, I wouldn't have been late. And that's
Or get up a little bit earlier
up a
and
bit earlier,
yeah,
whatever. But
yeah.
it doesn't matter how early I've got up. For example, if I have to leave at 9 o'clock, I can bet your bottom dollar, even if I got up an hour earlier, I would still be pushing it. Because what I always
Mm.
seem to do is think I've got this set amount of time and then
Right.
cram too much into it. But what
Yeah.
I've got to learn to do is learn just to say, I'm just going to leave that and I'll look at it
Mhm.
later. Rather
Yeah.
than, I know I'm someone that tries to get everything done now, but actually
Mhm.
there's never an end to all of the things, and then you're
No.
out of time. It's never ending, is
Yeah.
it? So
No, it's
it's
never
something I'm
ending.
guilty of. I know that.
Yeah. So, I think, obviously the two go hand in hand, focus and managing your time well,
Mm,
don't you think?
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
but something that I made a point of, like, for me, I want to do it because, I have some pretty grand plans for my future. And
Mm,
so in order for me to accomplish that, I need to work hard. I need to put the hours in and do that. But having said that, people also need to include a bit of, me time in there, whether it's,
mm,
reading and learning about something new. I was saying to Sarah, I'd like to start learning another language, something a bit more obscure than Spanish, which,
mm-hmm,
is spoken widely here in the US, or, French, which I've studied before that I could probably pick up. But, whether it's just doing something like that for an hour, half an hour, 20 minutes a day or something, or just having
mm-hmm.
some you time where you're reading or whatever it is that you like to do, dedicating some time to a hobby. I think that's all really
Yeah,
important as well. But
because I was reading about that with
uh,
time management. I think they professionals seem to talk about having, like you said, a start time and an end time,
yeah.
but also having some dedicated out time. So whether that's a lunch break, whether it's a set sort of, I'm going to give myself 20 minutes to go, and you've talked about the 50 minutes and the 10 minutes within the hour blocking, which works really
Blocking
well.
time,
Within that
so
10
good.
minutes, that
Yeah.
means that's when you go and get a coffee, or people on a cigarette break or whatever they're going to do, rather than it just
Right.
being sporadic. It really interrupts your train of thought. So I think if you can, I guess it's routine, what we're probably describing, isn't it? If you can
Mhm.
create that
Oh, it's
routine. So
definitely routine.
clear start time, a clear end time, which might have to move if you're really busy, with a deadline or whatever. But as a general rule, with some allocated downtime to have a lunch break, and maybe that's when you could do your 20 minutes or half an hour of learning a language within your lunch period. Make yourself
Mhm.
some lunch and sit there and do something to give
Right.
your brain a bit of a break from what you've been doing.
Yeah,
Um,
don't look at your phone, do that, or,
no,
read a book that isn't a cookbook.
Yeah, something that's dedicated and all right. And then within those 10 minutes, you might run around and if you are working at home, stick a load in the washing machine or
Right,
whatever. But don't keep breaking what you're doing to then go off and do those things. I thought
right.
about that. I thought, what are the things that causes me disruption? What do I need to get better at? I mean, I think some causes of the disruption are a sound of a new email coming in. I don't know about you, but when I'm working away and I hear it go bing, I'm like, oh, I've just got
Oh,
to go
I've
and
turned
check
that
that.
off.
So that's what I need
I've
to do.
turned
I
it
need to
off.
turn that off because that is
Yeah.
so distracting of
And
looking
I
at that all the
don't have
time.
those come through to my phone. There's just
Hmm.
text messages and calls that
Yeah.
they're the only two notifications. I have
Same with social
everything
media
else turned off.
notification, because if that then
None,
comes
I
up,
have all
that's
that
really
turned off.
distracting.
Yeah,
Um, Lots of tabs being open. I am one of those people that, I mean, my son just laughs at me. I'm not kidding. I must have 40 tabs open at the top of my
right,
thing all the time. I like to keep them there because I like to go click back in. But sometimes if you're not fully focused on what you're doing, they're quite tempting. You're like, oh, I'll just go and quickly check on that plant that I was having a look at for the garden. Is it
right.
on offer? You know,
Oh God, I'm glad I'm not the
it's
only person that does that
it's
shit.
just there. So I was just trying to
I
think of some
like
of the
that
things
pair of
which are,
jeans. That's
yeah,
what I did yesterday.
was
There
it?
was a pair of jeans. I want some like flared jeans. And there was a pair of jeans that I had seen on my phone while I was working out, but I wanted to look at them on my
Mm-hmm.
monitor. And I thought, oh, I'll just have a little peek at those. And next thing,
Half an hour
I'm
later.
scrolling through.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And
It's
it's
like a
just like,
rabbit
no, I
warren.
could
Yeah.
I could do that in the evening. So, it's having discipline, I think, is really
Yes. Yeah.
important with that. Making a priority list. And people say pick one task or two tasks, that big things that you need to get done. Well, I can't do that. Mine has to be like three or four. And it's
Mm-hmm.
not because I'm, just, oh, I've got all this stuff to do, being a dick. I'm not being like that. It's just because exercise is on my
Mm-hmm.
priority list, and that is something. So that's one thing right there. And then, the other three things are usually pertaining to work or,
Mm-hmm.
work that I'm doing for myself. So, um,
The other
yeah, I think
distracting
that's
thing though,
important.
we talked about
Oh,
this before we
yes.
start recording, is food.
Oh,
So
yes.
I'm either, and I'm being really honest about this, which is why I'm overweight, because either I'm thinking about food,
Right.
I'm eating food, or I'm thinking about not eating food.
It takes a
All
long
of a
time.
sudden, you're thinking, I feel like I've wasted quite a chunk of my day.
Mm-hmm.
Either going to get a snack because I'm right next to the kitchen, which is just a nightmare. I say snack, whatever I can get my hands on. If I'm in that frame of mind, if I'm in a really good frame of mind, I just leave it alone. But it's one of those, my relationship with food is not there. I'm still on a journey with this, and there are times when I'm like, oh, just got to go and get something to eat, or
And then you got to clean it up.
then I've got to tidy up and actually physically going in. It's only right there, but that it breaks from what you're doing, doesn't it? Then I'm
Mm-hmm.
thinking, if I'm not going to then go and get the food, and then thinking about what I might like to eat for food a bit later on, because I'm not going to
Yeah.
have it now. Or I'm then thinking about, no, don't eat the food because just keep yourself busy. But it's using my brain space thinking about that. So I think
It's
people that
exhausting.
are on this journey with trying to regulate their relationship with food and to lose weight, if that was what they're trying to do, or to get healthier because they're trying to eat the right sorts of food, let's be honest, it definitely impacts and
It's
interacts your day, doesn't it?
mental. Yeah, it just adds more of a mental load to you, I
It's a
think,
definite
which is
distraction. Yeah.
which is why I was telling Sarah before we started recording, that part, because I'm the same. And
Hmm.
I food is that's my livelihood. That's what I do. It's my passion. It's my hobby. It's, my world, right? But for me, trying to get healthy and lose the weight that I've put on since living here, uh, I need to not think about it as much. Like, I just
Mm.
can't use up all that time. So I'm not one for eating the same thing over and over again, because I do like variety.
Hmm.
But just to help me a bit, because this is a little challenge that I'm setting myself for a month, is to eat sort of similar type things, not the same thing every
Mhm.
day necessarily, or although it could be, but just know, okay, this is what I'm doing for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or whatever it is that I
Make
have
a bit of a plan.
every
Yeah.
day. Make a plan, and I do anyway with what I'm doing, but
Mhm.
just have it a little more, hate to use this word, regimented.
Mhm.
So that takes that away. It's like
Not thinking
Steve
about
Jobs always
it.
wearing a black, he always wore the same thing every day,
Mm.
because that way he didn't have to think about it. He was focused on his work and what he was doing, what he had to do, not thinking about that. So
Yeah.
I have to say, since I got rid of so much of my winter wardrobe, my clothes, choosing clothes is easier. I don't
Much
know, do
better.
get them
Mhm.
done the night before. It's like, black and gray, but
Don't have to
I
worry
know
which colours go
it
together. Yeah.
does, because I don't have to, think about, "Oh god, there's that shirt that I've never worn. What the hell did I buy that for?"
Yeah.
I just, they're gone. Those things are gone.
Mhm.
And it's, just stuff that really that I like. So,
So
and
that
simple
saves you
stuff.
time then.
Yeah, so there's 2 things there that save time. I'm sure you must have maybe read this when you're looking, for things for the pod for today, for the episode. Or if you've heard it before, but doing things in batches. And I heard this from a guy that had a very popular blog, and he said you're better off doing batch things, as far
Right.
as work, because you're in a particular mindset when you're doing that. So, you're either, if you're recording something or photographing something or drawing something or
Mhm.
whatever, um, or doing computer work, that then to have to keep switching back and forth, which
Mhm.
is what
That
my
makes
whole
sense.
day is like, then you have to get into that mindset. So if I'm writing and creating, coming up with content and recipes, and then I stop doing that, and I'm going and I'm cooking, and then I'm photographing, and then I'm editing recipes, all in a space of time that
Mm.
all uses different parts, I feel. I mean, it's probably using the same parts of my brain, but it just takes it's different things.
Yeah.
And I find that it takes a minute then to get okay into
I
that
think it depends on the
particular
kind of
set of
the
what you're
jobs you've
doing.
got to do, isn't it? So when I was
Right,
doing a lot of product photography, when I was getting my website together, I did do that. So because it took me a long time to set up all the styling of it and
right,
everything, then I tried to do as much as possible all in that one photo shoot to try and get that done. Then the next chunk of time, I then did all the editing of those photographs. And then the next chunk of
right,
time was, getting it all up. For now, to give a different example, I suppose, a bit like when I'm working for our podcast episodes, I do the editing of the video for YouTube. I do all of that in one section, including making the
right,
little sort of sound bites that we make for our social media. But then on a separate chunk, I then do all of the blog post writing. But within that, that means
right.
sourcing the images, making the images the right size. But I
Mhm.
treat all of that as my task, if that makes sense. So
Right, yeah.
my job is to create whatever I need for that blog post, so whether that's the research, the writing, the editing of the
Mhm.
copy, and then getting all the images for one go. So that's how I tend to work now, because it works for me to know that job is done and I can submit it to you, because then you do your bit with it, and all that
Right.
sort of thing. So I think it kind of depends on what task you've got, doesn't it? I think the batch thing does work if it's a fiddly job. I think that makes sense to me.
Do you find that having a creative mind sometimes just makes it harder? I don't know.
Potentially,
I because do you often just come up with things like I'll be cooking, and then I think of things
yeah,
of how I want, like, something to look or whatever, and I think, "Oh, I'll remember that," but I won't.
you don't,
So I
yeah,
have to then go and write it down. If I come into my office and sit at my desk and I write it down, next thing I'm on the
yeah.
computer, and, do you find that? I've started keeping a notebook with me all the time.
Oh, that's a good
So if
idea.
when creativity hits,
Mhm.
I just scribble it down, and that
I
way I
smile
don't
to
have to
myself a
go
bit when I'm
away.
doing my illustrations, and I thought I'm in the middle of one at the moment, and I laughed at myself because I work in sections. So I work from a photographic image on my really big screen, and then I'm obviously doing the drawing on the pad, on the paper in front of me, and I think I've finished a section and I'm happy with it. And I pick up another color because we were talking about
Mm.
this. I, use maybe 30 colors sometimes within one illustration. And I start to use that, and I suddenly think, oh no, and if people watch it, then I'm dotting around, I'm going all
Right.
over the image because I'm going adding a little extra touch of something, a little extra touch. And I think that's how my brain works, is I'm never ever
Mm.
quite finished on something. I
Nope.
think that's difficult as well, isn't
I
it?
think
Because
that's an artist, I think.
completion is
And
difficult.
I think
Yeah.
creative people are like that. I'm like
Yeah.
that when I do a shot
Yeah.
and I'm styling, and it's like, okay, art director said it's great, or if I'm doing it for myself, yeah, yeah, it's good, looks good. And you think,
But it's just to
but
know
it
when
could
is it
be
done. Yeah.
better,
Hmm.
rather than having to step back from it and think, okay, Lovoni,
But that goes
enough,
back to our perfectionism last year.
perfectionism. Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
is enough. Your best is enough. And I
Right.
think
Yeah.
that's when you've got to know when to leave it alone.
Right, because otherwise that takes up a lot of time, I
But I
think.
think that's a skill you've got to learn. I don't think it's something it
Mhm.
necessarily comes naturally, does it? But um
What's that? The just
knowing
stopping?
when to stop, yeah, and to
Yeah,
let go of that, like we said last week, the perfectionism. It's just
yeah,
letting that go a little bit. But
yeah.
some of the concentration barriers, because I was looking into that, is it just
Mhm,
because that's the way that we are? But I was like, had a look, and there were a list of things that then made me smile, and I thought, okay, so this is just basically what our podcast is about. But it says that lack of sleep is one of the
mhm.
drivers
Yeah,
for
I read them.
concentration barrier, poor diet,
Yeah.
stress, lack of movement, dehydration.
Mhm.
As I was going
Yeah,
down the list, I just thought, well, okay, so basically all of the things that we are, striving for, that we've talked about time and time again, it feeds into every touch point. This is what I'm just suddenly realizing, is that for well-being, it's really the same answers every time, isn't it? Is that those
yeah.
things are the things which are going to affect you the
Mhm.
most. And if you can then get a grasp of those, it's now we're talking about concentration. It's something else it's affecting as
Well,
well.
it's
So
sleep especially is a big one.
yeah.
Sleep and being hydrated are big things for
Hmm.
concentration and focus. I think so. But yeah, definitely it's all part
It
of
all
the
comes back to the
wellness and
yeah.
taking care of yourself and allowing time in your day to do that.
Hmm.
Like, we're talking about allotting time, allotting blocks of time to be a bit more productive, but within your day, there has to be time for you, whether it's doing some cooking or working out or something. There
Hmm.
has to be, to take care of your well-being, I think. Um,
But one of the tips, I think, when you were talking about the time blocking,
yeah,
the 50 minutes and the
yeah.
10, it's interesting because I think that really works, whether it's the 30 minutes. So if
Oh,
you can set a timer and go, right, go. And then
yeah.
do you remember if you heard of Parkinson's law? So basically it says that work expands to fill the time allotted for its completion. So whatever time you've
Hmm.
got, it will take you that long to do it.
That
You won't,
time. Yeah,
so if you suddenly think, oh, I've got an hour to do that. That's that work you probably could get done in 30 minutes, or at least give it a good try. So setting
right.
yourself a timer, it will fill the amount of time that you've got. So don't believe that a
Makes a big
task,
difference
yeah, it's going to take a certain amount of time. Just set the time
because
you've got and then go.
right. I say that about, and I'm not shitting on Americans here at all, but their work days are longer than Australians because Australia, they will have a cutoff point. They don't work for as many hours a week, like a standard government type job, I guess
Right.
you could
Okay.
say.
Hmm.
Or just, I mean, it doesn't have to be government. We used to get where I worked in a test kitchen and photography studio, we would get a day off a month, our days were 7.5 hours long. Here they're long. The days are
Right.
long. And I have often said to people when I'm, working with them here on location or whatever, that we could get the same amount
Yeah.
of work done in less hours. It's just because we know we have like nine,
Yeah. You fill it
10
up.
hours to do it.
Hmm.
And, a shoot's iffy. It's not a black and white type
No.
thing, working with food, photography, videoing, all that sort of stuff. That all takes time. But I think it just could be a little tighter if
Hmm.
they didn't give themselves quite so long, just like what you were saying. But it's
Yeah.
something I've certainly noticed about this country, and I think you all just need to stop working as much and just have
Do
more
more.
creative time or
Yeah.
hobby or,
Uh-huh.
working on yourself or something. I don't know. I don't know. Um,
So what are some tips then of making people or helping people make the most of their time that they've got? What would you say?
reducing, this is especially for focusing, reduce multitasking, that's a big one. Eliminating distractions as best you can.
Yeah.
The phone is a huge distraction, I think, from
Mhm.
everybody. So maybe put in another room. Um, just don't look at it during that 50-minute block.
Mhm.
Um, train your brain. So you have to be disciplined, I think.
Mhm.
And then, music is a big part of my day. I always like to have some sort of
I was
music
gonna
on.
say that,
So
playing
for
music.
me,
Yeah.
yeah, music, eating well, sleep, hydration. I think creating a space that you like to work in.
I was gonna say that, pleasant
Definitely
working space. Yeah.
the time block.
Mhm.
We've said that over and over again.
Dedicated
And
breaks, I think then.
dedicated
Yeah.
breaks, and I think that this is like a muscle that you need to work at it. I've decided that I am going to be better with my time management, better with my focus. It's not like there's not like a magic pill like there is same with losing weight.
No.
You have to put in the work, you have to be disciplined, and you have to work at it. If you're not perfect one day, it doesn't mean that it's all,
Well, I was like,
been
I've
lost.
written down the fact of positive mindset. You go into it thinking,
Definitely.
I'm gonna
I'm
get
gonna
this done
do
now.
this.
I'm gonna get
Yeah,
this done in this next hour. And I've also put down reward yourself, because actually once you've got that chunk done, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go and get myself a nice coffee. And like
right.
little tiny rewards for these chunks of time that you've then managed to get, focused and keep in focus for that period of
Mhm.
time. I think that helps along the way.
Yeah, definitely. But just something I think, and to be aware of it, to be aware if you
Hmm.
like it, if you feel like you're not accomplishing things, you're not, that the important stuff that you wanna get done in a day, then you probably have issues with time management and with focus. What's our, challenge going to be for this week, Sarah?
Um, I'm going to get myself a routine underway, like a work routine. So a bit more of a start time and end time.
Yeah.
For me, is going to be to create that working day. And within that, I'm going to do time blocking. I did it a while ago. I've forgotten about it. Um, that's what I'm going to do. What about
Mhm.
you?
Yeah, same, same. Like,
Yeah.
do my start and end time. And then I'm just gonna end and get stuff done, and then if I still wanna come back to things, then I can, the
Yeah.
smaller stuff
Yeah.
that I haven't got done. Um, and focus, like, really work on my focus because I said to Sarah, I have the attention span of a two-year-old, so and I don't know, I say it's my creative brain, I don't know, but I'm
It's
really
just
gonna work
practicing
on
not
it.
doing that way. Our challenge
Yeah,
last week was starting the
right,
projects that
yes,
you've been putting off and not waiting until
yes,
everything was perfect. How
right.
did you manage? Did you sort of
I'm
get rid
good.
of those gremlins?
Yes,
Yeah.
I did. The only thing I haven't quite finished is doing some LinkedIn stuff, but I
Hmm.
am working on it and I have made some reels. I'm going to put another one up today. And just, I'm working on where I want to take things to getting that all
Hmm.
sorted out. Next week we're talking
Friend edit.
oh, next week, the friend edit. Yes, of course,
Yeah.
is the friend edit. So, which, is kind of good for purge month, I think, because we are still
Yeah.
in February.
It's, yeah.
I still have to do a couple of things off that list. But anyway, um, it's about how do you know when it's time to cut somebody out of your life, whether it be friend or even a family member. We're going to be talking with Sarah Jane. She's from England, who, after losing a lot of weight and feeling fabulous for it, discovered her friends weren't so happy for her. So
Mm.
I think
Hmm.
that's probably quite a common thing, don't you?
Wow, I don't know, to
Be
be honest with
interesting.
you. I've not really, yeah, I hadn't even ever thought about it. It's going to be really interesting to hear what
I'll
she's
let
got
you
to
know when I
say.
lose all my American weight.
I'll still
Back
be
to my
talking to
Aussie
you, don't
weight.
worry.
Okay, thanks. All right. Uh,
Yeah,
oh
it's going to be
goodness.
really interesting to hear what she's got to say, and
I
also I
think
think for
so.
us to think about um, what affects our relationships and our days. So excuse me, I'm about to choke. So yeah, I think that would be really good. Be sure to visit lovoniandsarah.com or our captions and our show notes for the links to connect with us on Instagram and our new YouTube channel, where you can listen and watch for us. Please don't forget to subscribe. It'd be really great if we can have you all along every week. And if you're listening to us on a podcast platform, please subscribe and maybe give us a lovely review. That would be nice.
We hope today's episode has offered up some ideas you can put into practice on improving your time management and focus. Thanks for spending time with us. Until next week, take care of yourself. We're sending lots of love. Bye for now.
Bye.